find out that I can't read.
Oh, God.
All these years!
I thought you were so educated.
Don't pick that one. Don't pick that one.
I thought you were educated.
I want a girthy question. I guess I'll take about right.
Average size.
That's about right.
We're not going to talk
Oh,
about
it was a trick. It was a trick. It's only one letter. My son is interested in science fiction. What books can I recommend that aren't totally whitewashed?
Ooh.
that are totally
Are
whitewashed?
not. Are not.
Okay.
Are not. Aren't totally whitewashed.
Let's see. Processing.
Books are hard.
It does require reading.
It's not sci-fi, but I would say Lumberjanes. It's an excellent series. It depends on how old the child is too.
Yeah.
So a lot of the shows out there have book references too.
Yeah.
And it's like Star Trek itself. It goes with the individual characters
yeah.
as well. I would say definitely, if there's interest in sci-fi, Star Trek books are great ones to start with.
Yeah.
Just because they expand upon the actual show itself.
Yes.
Let's see.
Yeah,
I
those
hate to
books
say
are
this, but I probably would not recommend like Lord of the Rings.
No.
No, God, no.
No.
But that's more fantasy anyway.
Yeah.
And Screw Orson Scott Card.
Great one.
Yes.
Dune. Dune.
Yeah.
The Dune series. There's the Dune. There's Children of Dune. Those are really great.
Do they talk about racism?
They do actually. They approach racism quite well.
What
Nice.
about, did anybody read any of the Stargate?
Yes.
Yes.
Stargate.
Because I've never read them, but what I know about Stargate would probably mean that
Yes,
it would be a
Stargate
Okay.
actually celebrates the different races and things like that.
Yeah.
So they don't really talk so much about racism itself, but maybe they do talk about enslavement. They do talk so things like that, which actually is kind of,
Yeah.
but it has a lot of notes that hint towards the things that we've done with here in America
Yeah.
And
throughout society.
Yeah, and the one thing is, I like how they represent the Jafar. They're all these, African American, or at least, darker skin tone people, and they're all seen as the reverent race. Of course, they have a parasite inside of them, but they're seen as the more intellectual, weaponized, and all that other stuff type of race. So yeah, I didn't even think that Stargate was actually a book series. Okay, that's cool.
Like I said, there's a lot of shows that have books as well that
Yeah.
expand off of the characters.
Yeah.
Of course.
I've been reading Lathe of Heaven by Le Guin. And
Oh,
that's
I love
actually
her
really
so
great.
Guin.
Yes. I haven't picked up any Octavia Butler yet, but I've heard she's pretty awesome
She
too.
is, and it really depends on the age of the child. Like,
Sure.
if we're
Assume-
talking like a
assume-
10-year-old,
yeah.
you should not do that unless you
No.
are ready to have the sex talk. The sex talk is a prerequisite for the exogenous series. Like, do not start with Dawn unless you have already had that talk.
I've
If
read
you've had that talk, then
Another great one
Probably work.
that approaches not only relationships, gender, race, all of those, the Honor Harrington series.
yeah.
One of my favorites. And it's a series of books, and it is a pretty easy read. So, it's meant for teens anyway. So, but the lead character is a woman.
I like that.
Yeah, she is the
So it's
hero.
like Twilight.
We're not going to talk about that.
that Rick and Morty thing has gone to your head.
But they approach issues with like military and things that stuff like that. They also approach different planets, different races, how they interact with each other. They also approach things like polyamory, gender neutrality, transgender. It is a great introduction to somebody who wants to be more open and more influenced in their life. So. Yeah, I would say that those are some great ones. As well.
Yeah.
So.
Ask your local librarian.
Yeah.
If there is one thing that I can interject, I am actually a part of, and it's a Facebook group. It's literally called Black Sci-Fi.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and all they talk about is either new television shows, books, local artists that are coming out with books. that talk about mainly about POC characters and stuff like that. So it's an amazing group to be a part of because every single day there's new content that's coming out, and it's an easy, subscribe and read. Especially for some of us who hate reading, Audible is our friend.
Snow Crash.
Ooh.
Oh.
Meow.
Oh. Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Okay, so by
I've never
Neil
read that
Stephenson,
one.
it is cyberpunk. I'm actually struggling to think of a major character who is white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I was gonna say,
Awesome.
they're mostly not.
Yeah, they're mostly people of color. I mean,
I'm trying to think of like a cyberpunk world that would work whitewashed. Like, I feel like that's too close to the world we have now.
Tron.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
cyberpunk though.
it's
No,
not-
No,
it's not. They do-
Tron is more sci-fi
Yeah.
gaming. It's
Yeah,
not
I
cyber.
wouldn't say
like
Yeah.
maybe the trailer for Ready Player One.
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for more on the fantasy end of things, I will say Monstrous is fantastic. It's a fantastic comic series. It's a little more steampunky, and you literally go through pages upon pages upon pages and not see a single male character, which is a lot of fun, and also a diverse color palette of skin tones.
Oh, I think I've heard of it.
And it's really, really cool. And the protagonist has like a cut off arm or something, and she like goes through this thing where she has a beast living within her and stuff, and she's actually really scary and like ethically gray and all sort of stuff. And there's it's just a really, really cool, well written series. It's so good.
Does anyone remember the one I literally just watched the movie? It's Amazon Prime. It's about a little girl or these children that are zombies, and the main character is a little black girl, and the teacher is white. But in the book they actually swapped the roles. The teacher was black and the student was white. And it's about it's like the end of civilization or end of humanity. And the whole premise is that there's this zombie virus that took over, and the kids became hybrids. All of the children, they became hybrid zombie things. So like if you get close to them and they smell like any kind of fluids coming off of your body, then they turn like into these little crazed monsters. It's so insane because it all looks sweet and innocent and everything. And then one of the guys who's like, it's like an army society, of course. So one of the guys is like, "You think he's innocent?" and like puts his arm next to it, and all of a sudden you see the kid's jaw open wide, and is like, doing the biting thing over and over again. I'm forgetting the name of it, but I heard the book was actually just as good. It's just they swapped the roles, and you see a teacher, an African American teacher who is doing her best to take care of these children. The ending is really messed up, but I'm not going to talk about it because it's amazing. But yeah, I'll figure out the name of it later and I'll come back to it. But it was such a good story about like humanity and having thoughts, or at least having preconceived notions and changing it.
Nice.
And everything. So based on past experiences and
Right.
stuff. So it's called the Girl with All the Gifts.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the movie's different than the book.
The movie is different because only the first main characters are swapped.
Okay, because I'm like, that's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. I just watched it a couple of days ago, and I was very, very, very shocked. Based on like the kids being the bad guys.
Well, they're not. Okay.
Yeah.
No, they're not. You watched that.
Can we
story
fight over
completely
plot?
different
Can we
than I
fight
did.
over plot later? Those
Yeah.
children are always evil.
No. I'm a zombieist.
Zombiness. Oh my
I
god.
think you're a humanist. You don't want everybody to be a zombie.
You know.
All right, ready? Okay. Okay, this question is definitely not one I can answer. I was assisting with the casting for a local theater show. There were roles for 3 black characters according to the traditional script. 40 actors auditioned. One was black. My director wound up casting white actors. What could I have done differently?
Well, nothing because you weren't right. But
So this is actually a really common question problem in theater.
This is something I've dealt with.
First off, get a black audience. Stop only serving your traditional white audience. Start including other communities, not only in just the casting, but the shows that they might be interested in. I know, like, 2 black people in America want to see Bye Bye Birdie again. Like, that is it. They are the elders. They are the ancient ones. We go to them for sage wisdom, and they still have roots in Africa.
Yeah.
Like, but other, like,
Reminder.
yeah, but like, we start doing shows that talk about the issues in these communities, then ask those communities to start auditioning for your shows, then do a show that needs them. Like, and it's a big problem all over the place. I mean, Theater Schmeater it had a huge blow up for like dropping an M-bomb in the middle of everything last year, and all these other theater companies are like, black people don't like theater. That is not true. They are just tired of seeing the same exhausted white voices over and over again. Because you might have just written a new play, but I guarantee you, white kid, it is the same play that every other white person has written that year. Like, we want another Hamilton. Get us something that we need. Find that voice that invites us into that space. Make it a safe space for us to be artists in, and then start requiring the work from us.
Also with that too,
Tell me how you really feel.
I think based on that question, I would talk to, especially if you're going through agents, I would ask for more diverse people to come and look in. And even in the casting notice too, you can put in, looking for all ethnicities or something. Maybe talk it up to your friends who are in it, because if you're a casting director, you're gonna know actors. You're gonna know agents. You're gonna know, other production companies and stuff like that. So put the word out that, you're trying to do this production, and you want everyone to come out and audition for it, and not just the main group of people that see the casting notices and everything.
Also, think about the time and the place that you're having, the time and the place that you're having the audition. If you're having the audition in white North Seattle every single time and you're surprised that black people aren't showing up, have an audition at Franklin High School.
Yeah.
Have an audition somewhere where that is on a neutral or a black space, to give them an opportunity, because they might not even be seeing, if it's not a casting thing, if this is a community thing, they might not be seeing your posts.
Yeah.
Because,
On top of that too, like, actually we just did a casting, well, we didn't just do it, but 3 years ago I got the opportunity to be on a casting board with some really amazing people that I continue to do work with now. And we went to 3 public libraries and, had in different neighborhoods and had so many different people show up. So definitely I think, maybe if you have the time to have more than one audition space, because sometimes people can't make it during the time, or have it open to people to do video auditions if they can do self-tapes. I mean, you'll definitely get more people able to come out that time and be able to do an audition whenever they can, and just email it in, because I think self-tapes are becoming more and more of a thing. So yeah.
real quick, that question again is: were they part of the?
They're part of the casting process. Yes.
They're part of the casting.
Yes.
Because I thought they just said they're director.
No, she said I was assisting with the casting for a local theater show.
Okay. Because assisting for casting doesn't mean they get to decide. The
No, it
director,
doesn't mean that
yeah,
they get
the
to
director has
decide.
a final say on it. Really, assisting casting means that you could have just been there listening to auditions.
Yeah, but you could also make sure that people come in for those auditions
Yeah,
too.
that's what I'm saying.
If you only have
Unfortunately,
one black person showing up, you're not going to have that much variety.
Unfortunately, I had to say, dealing with theater myself, and Don probably knows this as well. It's sometimes hard as a director, or even that, you have to cast your show. But there's a point at which you have to say, if I can't cast my show with the people that I need, the show doesn't happen. Period. Because we can't. However, if you're working with a group that is paying you to do it, you don't have a choice on that. They're paying you to do this. They have the rights for it. Sometimes you have to cast the people that come in. And it's a, I hate to say this, it is horrible to be that way. And I don't feel it should be that way. And I feel that we should, if there is the roles like that, there should have, second castings, second auditions. Because it is more important to me that the role be cast with the appropriate race, the appropriate culture, rather than forcing your audience to hit the believe button, which we've talked about.
No, I'm not talking about second auditions. I'm talking about having multiple auditions.
Well,
like,
most shows only do one audition.
Okay.
It's usually 3 days.
You can do
and
self-tapes.
And they don't. You could. That's a great thing for movies. Theater, not so much.
you
Well,
can do
but
something.
that's something that, I mean,
theater we don't do.
but theater needs to adapt.
That's
And
what I'm
it needs to,
There's some
and
theater productions I've done self.
the lip
oh,
service,
yeah.
the lip service of equity, the lip service of we're doing a show to have more diverse casts only counts if you actually do the work behind it.
Yeah.
If you change nothing but that one line for diversity, you have done nothing.
Thank you.
You have to change.
But I absolutely agree with you, Dom, and that's where I'm saying,
Really?
unfortunately, that's the way it is right now, but what we do need to do is change that. And
Yeah,
it does start with
that's
one
what
person.
the question is, yeah.
With this individual asking here, what more could they have done, is literally talk to the director saying, hey, I feel like this is needed.
Mm-hmm.
We need to cast this role, and we need to cast it and stand your ground
Yeah.
for that.
And this person having this line of questioning, they clearly identified that something was amiss.
Wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know that for this situation it's already over, there's nothing they can do, and they quite frankly held the status quo. Just understanding that something is amiss is a leap and bound
yeah,
farther
yeah.
than we're going to get from a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But now that you've noticed that something's amiss, holding the feet to the fire and coming up with new strategies to make sure that your goal can get hit. And maybe not putting it on maybe not starting with a show that has mandatory black roles.
Yeah.
Go for like Ed, Jim, or Mike, not Ali or Muhammad.
Yeah.
Like find some of those and start getting them involved in the first place. Like we constantly talk in theater about how do we get the youth involved?
Yeah.
Because we know that we need future generations. Well, we should start treating the cultures we want to bring in just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we bring them in? How do we foster their
Exactly.
love for it?
Mhm.
And then how do we give them agency inside of it?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Because she said only one black person showed up. And then at the same time, when you're doing a production, you want to cast the person who's the most talented. So, it could have been a situation where that black person was not talented. We don't know what the circumstance was. We just know what the general situation was. And what they need to do is maybe next time look at the casting notice and see how they worded it to
I also say,
cast
if
the
this person happens
roles.
to know other actors that happen to be African
Yeah,
American,
that's what I was saying.
It's to code to them and just like, hey,
Yeah.
But I will say this, I honestly, I don't have excuses for it, and I don't find the excuses acceptable from any director now that they just can't find the right person anymore.
Yeah.
If a little tiny theater group, and I'm not saying names just because I don't want to, can put on a show called Stand and Deliver, right, and cast the entire thing with Hispanic actors in a little itty bitty tiny town, then places like Seattle, Everett, can find one.
Yeah.
This is my exact problem with
African-American
Hollywood, but I won't get into it.
Yeah.
Theater.
I know, like I said. I know.
The funny thing right now is as we, I had no idea, but we are doing a new episode, right? And it's going to be in Seattle, but it's going to focus on Latinos and Latinas mainly in this metaverse. I can't really say names or anything, but and there's a Spanish Seattle. I had no idea.
yeah.
And then the thing is with that too
Put me in
is
industry, you'll have an
that
idea.
there are probably people that don't know about that too.
Oh.
So it's one of those things that the word, if you know someone who knows someone who knows someone, talk to those people. Say, hey, we are looking for such and such people. When they the guys that I work with, when they put the casting notice, they put it on what's the background one website they have to pay for that mostly everyone uses for theater and for film.
I don't get casted.
There's
I was the one black guy that showed up.
you.
And they're like, free white guys, please.
But no, there's one casting board that's used by a lot of people, and it's a paid service. In order for you to get the casting notices, you have to pay for it. And so I know there are people that are cheap like me that don't pay for things.
I actually literally had to cough. I'm sorry. That was not timed. I thought that was sarcastic. God damn it.
I gotta take off Mary's
full of coughing. No, sorry. But no, there's one of the things that like I knew people that do, set up accounts. So I was like telling all of my friends they were looking for African American actors to come out and do this. Black actors, are you interested? Oh, just tell me a time and a place for the audition. And word of mouth happens that way, So I think a lot of it is just looking at the casting notices too to see what exactly they're putting out there.
Can we real quick just kind of recap what we said here? Like I said, we recognize the status quo. We recognize that something is wrong. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up. Ideas. Second, auditions. Looking for notifying
word of mouth.
Notifying word of mouth.
Yeah.
Get it out there, and also notifying the director. Say, hey, this has to change. Because if we don't say it, it doesn't change.
Yeah,
So-
or at least just saying something too, because like I said, it could have been a situation where they literally had one person that showed up, and he could have just sucked
So, well, that's
really
true.
badly.
I think.
So
the
not
deal-
assuming that everyone is like being
Yeah.
super racist or anything like that,
No.
or saying, well, we don't want to.
I think that what we're
But-
getting at though too is this person here has recognized, like Dom said, has recognized that something's wrong
Yeah,
and has stated it. But unless we say, hey, this isn't right, we need to find a black actor for this black role. If we don't, then, and I hate to say this, we're part of the problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but if we recognize it as a problem, at least we're taking a step forward. So, and I think that's the best answer we can get.
Can you speak to the importance of allowing villains, criminals, and flawed characters to be played by black actors? I am an actor, and I'm often told that I give a good audition, but casting directors don't want to cast me as a thug or a hustler, for instance, because they don't want to be stereotypical. I would prefer colorblind casting. Is there a point to not casting black actors in this role? Or in these roles?
We did speak about colorblind casting.
Yes.
But in this instance, my only response would be, no, a lot of people don't want to cast people in stereotypical roles, but it depends on the story. Like, if
Also depends on
somebody,
where you are too, because if it's
Right.
then yes, you do.
right, like if you're just gonna fucking be like, a dark elf for all of eternity, like that's not okay.
I mean, well, it's kind
I
of.
mean, like,
Sorry.
if you're talking about like, an urban scenario in like, outside of LA or whatever, where everybody is not white and the way of life is like you pack a gun every day, like that's one thing. It depends on the story, the setting, the time, the place, and that's how it should be approached.
And we are in the middle of kind of a reaction
Revolution?
cycle.
Yeah.
A reaction cycle. Revolution happened. The one that happened. We're in the reaction cycle right now where everybody's like, well, if I cast a black person as the villain, then I'm racist. I'm like, but he's 9'6" and has literally tattooed murder, death, kill on his face. Like, this was his role. Like, you picked him from prison.
Right.
So we're in that reaction phase right now where we're going to have a lot of pushback, and you have to keep pushing for what you want. But I mean, I guess the greatest argument for being casted as the villain is Training Day. Like, while Denzel does have his rule that any of his flawed characters have to die, he still cast as flawed characters.
Yeah.
Like, it still exists, and it's finding the people that want to work in that world where you can be anything. And maybe you need to find a director that you've done other things for first, so they feel more comfortable getting over their white guilt, where it's white guilt about having white guilt, that deep guilt, that they painted.
Meta-guilt.
They painted the baby Jesus and their grandmother's nativity black because they felt so guilty about looking at it guilt. Like, it's down in there. Probably pancreatic cancer. But like, you gotta
Fine,
find.
though.
Yeah, so I don't know what things are. Nobody teaches me stuff. I barely learned how to read. But it's finding somebody that wants to play an experiment and see what you can do, or write your own stories and show them what you can do already. If they're like, I don't know how I feel about you being a thug, be like, well, this is my YouTube clip of me being a thug over here, and it's not just I'm an aggressive, angry thug. It's this great dynamic thug that has these three-dimensional reasons of why he does all of this, and all he wants to do is feed his children's with drug money. Or whatever, like find a way to tell that story already so that they don't, and it's a little bit of hand holding, but they don't feel like they're doing it to you. Like the white director doesn't feel like they're making you a thug. Like after this movie, you're going to go do it for real. So yeah, I guess that's the best I got on it.
So the great advice I can give to that, especially if it's for theater, with just seeing auditions and directing as well. I can say the great ones that get me are when they come in and they introduce themselves and they talk about themselves, and it's completely different from the character of which they're portraying, right? So I can watch, I'm like, okay, well, this is a very educated person. They're really knowledgeable about theater. They know how to present themselves, and they're auditioning great. And then they go into this they can go right into that thuggish attitude, and then I'm like, for me, I go, that's great. Like I got to see one side of them, and now I get to see the other. So I know they can do this now.
Yeah,
and I might say, I might go and say, I might do the whole, should we cast it like this or should we cast it like that as a director? But if you give the director what they're wanting, what they're looking for, and you don't let them have any doubt, at that point you did your job. It's on the director now.
Yeah, I think piggybacking off of what Dom said, to create something where you have multiple faces, and you're presenting any one of those to whoever the casting director is, because I know I've gone to auditions and I've done things. If they were looking for an urban person, I'm like, okay, how urban do you want me to be? So on and so forth. And a lot of the times you have no idea what the director is looking for. You don't know if you blew away the audition or if you sucked really badly. So if you give them an option to look at multiple choices of you and what you are, I think that it might help your chances a little bit more. So, if you're looking at a thug, there are multiple levels of being a thug that you can explore, and you want to explore all of those and send all of those. They like to see variety. I know when I do like voiceover work, I do at least 3 to 4 takes on one recording, and they just want to see variety, so they can see that you can do different things. They might say, hey, you did this weird accent thing and we really liked it, so can you do that again? So I think giving them some kind of giving them choices to make might help also when it comes to that.
Coming at it from a writer's point of view, I realized that the person who sent in the question was an actor, and he was asking for what can he do, sort of what's going on, and sort of what he has agency over. But in my mind, I'm hearing we're scared that if we cast a black person for this role, it's going to be stereotypical. If that's all it takes for it to be stereotypical, you have already failed as an artist. If that is the only thing that you have to drop into that blank, and you're like, oh, this is exactly like everything else out there, you have already failed. It doesn't matter who you cast, you have already screwed up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And again, that's not something that the person who sent us the request or the question can do much about, because that's not on him or them as an actor. That's on the writer, that's on the director, that's on the producer. It's not something that they can deal with. But solidarity, not a situation you created.
Yeah.
And if they can come back and argue the point, hey, look, this is a nuanced character, so when they have all of these attributes that I can embody with my acting because I am a skilled actor, then it won't come across as a stereotype, it won't come across as flat because the character's dynamic in the first place. Then hopefully whoever's on the casting board be like, Oh, yes, actually, you're right. How to roll! Which hopefully is how it goes down, but I've never had someone throw their hands at me and say, you've got to roll. So,
So we are
I
on
don't
to the
even think
next
Rowling would be able to sue. I
question.
think several
No.
people before would sue.
Disney.
What did I say?
No,
Is
it's
it
Universal.
for?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Hi, I'm reading the question. Thank you.
Are you?
Oh boy. White directors telling black stories, like Detroit being made by Catherine Bigelow. Women are also a minority in the film industry, but is this move appropriation? Exploitation? Should the film have been directed by someone else?
That kind of goes into some of our previous questions.
But women? Did we talk about women?
No.
No, we never focused on
shit.
women, but this kind of like people telling other people's stories kind of thing, we have talked about a bunch, and I mean, to their question, it's kind of like a case-by-case basis. There can be no broad brush on this.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's like, what is it? What's the director's name? Kevin Feige, or whatever. He routinely does, like, comedies that center on women. Like, the guy did, like, Bridesmaids, and I can't remember what else.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And his basic thing was, his statement was basically like, I would love for more female directors to be doing this kind of thing, but Hollywood being the way it is, I'm just gonna keep doing it
Yeah.
until somebody else steps up.
Hey, Patty Jenkins, thank you for
Thank you, Patty Jenkins. Thank you.
and film being the medium it is, it's as much the director telling the story as it is the actors.
Right.
Like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Like the
it's
actors,
more the
yeah,
director.
the actors are the ones like, I don't know, everybody's like best directed by, I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
even know that they were a part of this process.
Yeah.
Because I know that they're the invisible hand, but they are the invisible hand. So
Yeah.
I mean, as long as we're not putting all men in wigs and saying, they're women! Like,
Yeah.
I feel like,
Oh,
it's a
back
very,
when.
yeah, like there's no broad brush for this. It's gotta be case by case, jury of their peers.
Well, it's like I see this. I've been very involved in like conventions and speaking with Image a lot lately. Huh? I know.
that's a convention.
I'm not bitter
No,
or anything.
no, you're not bitter or anything
I'm
at
not
all. Yeah.
bitter at all.
Anyway, I went to the Image Expo a couple of years ago, and I actually ended up asking some of the creators, you know, the writers and the artists and stuff, you know, what do you do as like some random white dude from Canada or whatever, you know, making this story that takes place in Japan, and or like how does it feel to like be a creator of something where your story centers around something that's completely opposite your culture. And a lot of people came back with the response where like anybody can create, right? Anybody can create, but as long as they're doing their research and as long as they're presenting the story in a way that's culturally appropriate and culturally sensitive and accurate.
Accurate.
You know, yeah, accurate too. But like, you know, as long as they're actually like going through the process in a thoughtful way, really there's no line on who gets to create what, I guess, is what they came back with me. Yeah. What do you think?
Need research.
Yeah, yeah.
Research and
Have you read Wayward?
responsibility.
Well,
It's amazing.
I'm gonna do some shameless plugging here.
Of course.
Okay, great little show out there right now. Happens to have a white director. Sound Crossings. Lead actress is black.
Freeze frame.
Happens to be one of our panelists here. So, I mean,
I mean, I don't know who. I honestly have no idea who.
But I would like to point that out. Here you have a white director telling a story about a black woman, and it's a very touching story, and it's a very real story. I know you're getting blushing and whatever here, but
Do black
that's-
people get red?
Now find out.
Let's find out. Yeah, I'd like to point out there are white directors that can actually tell the story.
Don't die.
Don't die on me.
Comparison for so long.
I know there's a white balance on the camera. Is there a red balance?
I mean, I know it's hard to like people
Watches?
come.
What shade we
I have a jail book we could go through and see.
But so Abby, as an actress on the show, I want to get your perspective. What is it like working with a white director?
Oh my god.
Ooh. I like how
Shit
to
just
avoid
got
answering this
real.
question, you shoved your you can't shove your belly. Like, oh no, oh no,
Have not had enough of it.
Don't eat this.
Oh god.
No, I plan not to.
Do you need
Gross.
a drink?
No, not the wine.
Not the wine.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Sorry. So my hearing sucks. I had no idea you were talking about that. I was totally unprepared. I've been shoving food in my mouth. Okay, wow. So when I was approached about sound crossing, it was one of those things that like I've never done before, ever. When we first did the casting, we were trying to bounce around ideas of, you know, what the basis of the character was. So it was literally us hanging out and eating baked ziti. And I was posed the question of finding 5 men that I could randomly make out with. And I was just like, well.
Well,
Literally.
I have a list. Hold on.
Can you get me this man?
I got so many messages. So yes, Dom was one of them.
I needed too much.
You never asked me.
I didn't know.
And so the fact that like she gave me so much freedom to play with my character, and then she changed everything on me. But it was like I was allowed to play the character the way that I wanted to.
So that's a director design, right?
That was just God fucking yes. Shit talk. Sorry. This is Tourette's. It comes out every once in a while. No, it was honestly one of the coolest opportunities I've ever had.
Yeah.
Such a dynamic character on top of that too. So yeah, I was that was one person that I know that's actually doing it right.
Yeah.
Especially dealing with some of the directors and producers that live in the Seattle area right now. It's really hard to find someone that lets you have as much freedom as you can, you know, with a character, unless you've been like super established out there and everything. So yeah, big props to the director because she is amazing.
So I mean, that's just what approach to the question again. It's like there are directors out there that are doing it right.
Yes.
And that are happen to be white as well.
Because they know.
They, you know, it's not about whether they grew up or whether they can. It's about understanding what the character is and allowing that character to be who they are.
But a lot of it too is speaking from a place that you know.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're gonna make up a character, but you're also gonna base it off of, you know, your community or something, cool. But if you're like trying to come from a comic book and say everybody in the comic book that used to be black is now white, then we're gonna have problems.
Yeah, we have problems at that point.
You know, like there was a video that Mary shared in our group about the Black Panther photo.
Oh my god!
Walking into the movie
So great!
theater.
Just like the reaction poster was so great. Why can't we get to feel this whole time?
I know.
This is what it likes.
That made me smile
Oh
so
my
much.
gosh.
Like
Oh my
having
gosh.
those guys be so excited, and they're like, this is what you guys feel. This is what you guys feel.
When you look at the movie poster,
Now
you
we
can
get
feel
to feel
empowered
this.
and
Yeah.
represented.
It's like, no wonder y'all like America. I was like, I like America too. I was like, that's great. That's so true.
Top 10 ways to combat terrorism.
Yeah.
Kiosks inside of movie theaters.
We're improving Black Panther.
Mohammed and me.
Oh my god.
All Middle Eastern guys like this. Terrorism got 40%. Right.
Oh, finally something that's not fucking Arabian Nights.
No, but it's true. Like you have to, if you're coming from a place that you know, then I appreciate you. I'm gonna give you props on top of that too. But if you're coming from a place and you have no idea what you're doing, don't do it.
Yeah.
Or do your research.
Yeah.
It is not that hard to do research at all. There's Google.
Your statement stands. If you don't know where you're coming from, don't do it. So in other words, know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. 100%.
Don't be lazy.
That's stop being lazy. Just stop being just black for black's sake.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna do a movie set in the hood, maybe don't be a menace to society while drinking your juice in the hood. Like, that's not research.
Yeah.
But it's the best movie ever!
Oh my god.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that it has something of a lack of verisimilitude.
Oh my god.
Well, I love that. Just
Someone
so
tried to
you're-
combat me with white chicks. I was like,
No!
I was like, I'll put white girls in a wheelchair too. What?
Oh my god.
Honestly,
Kidding.
there are a lot of actors out there, which we call method actors, that immerse themselves within their role itself. They've actually where if they're playing a person who's crazy inside of a insane asylum, they will go to an insane asylum and actually look
There are a lot
and
of
see
actors
and watch.
that
And
do
I
that.
love that style of
Yeah.
acting. We know something like Jack Nicholson who did that. When he on Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest and
Although Val
literally-
Kilmer did the same thing for Batman, and we're not going to
and
talk about that.
we have Heath Ledger.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
It was
So good.
He was Caucasian, yes.
But he immersed
But
himself in the role.
He immersed himself in the roles.
Yeah.
And he, he had some of those, what do they call them, supporting actresses and actors that were with him who were persons of color. Being able to play a gay man, if you've ever seen Brokeback Mountain, the story is literally 2 pages. It's not a very big story.
It's not.
Yeah.
But to create a character from
forgot he
that
was
we
in
believe,
Yeah.
I loved.
Yeah.
Really loved. But
I'm gonna put it into half speed. Keep a one movie marathon. Whoever finishes first loses.
I think that's like that Game
So
of Partners.
I'm thinking we're gonna be talking about movies here in a little bit. Sure.
Yeah.
Are we gonna do a critique of movies soon?
yes. Oh, we will. We will.
Please, yes.
So,
I want to jump in on a tiny point that you were bringing in when you're talking about method acting, which
Yeah.
also ties back into one thing that Abby said 2 minutes ago. Check the timestamp. No, don't do that. So one of the things we're talking about being true and doing your research and making sure that you're immersing yourself and finding out
Yeah.
what is actually true. Random interjections generally not associated with Tourette syndrome. Generally not true. It is verbal tics that involve just swearing and profanity and randomness. It happens, but there are so many other possible tics that can happen that are way more prevalent.
Yes.
I was gonna bring it up off camera that we shouldn't, fake neurodiversity.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're going there now.
No, we're not there. I was gonna be polite and be like, nope.
Yep.
I mean, let's crucify her. I gotta follow you out of the room. Oh my God.
Someone get a lampshade. I'm gonna hang it right here. Yeah. Yeah, so anytime you see a character, and they're like, oh yes, Tourette syndrome, and you expect them to just go apeshit, smack whoever's edited that script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's not what they're always known for.
Did we answer the question?
yes.
I don't know.
I don't even remember what the question was.
Yeah, we were talking.
You're not left in neurodiversity. see, it's fine.
Hopefully the
We're
next question has nothing to do with directors.
Well, it was more like women, but
Oh, right. Did we answer the question?
women directors. I think
Oh,
so.
Okay.
I think so. Is it considered appropriation if it's a female or someone who's doing it incorrectly?
I think the points of the gender is it's such a hard one. Only because I can't really answer this because I'm not a woman, and I don't feel that I have the place to place my own opinion on that because I'm not a woman. But
You're not
I
been a
can
woman?
say I have not been a woman.
Today.
Today. Actually, Angela did. But I can say this much from a male perspective. I would love to see more female characters. I would love to see more female roles, especially.
Female directors too.
I would love to see more female directors.
Do you know how
There's-
many films Coppola has done? And she gets like nothing.
Oh, seriously?
Sophia?
I had
Yeah,
no idea.
Sophia. Yeah, she's done a lot, and she gets like zero recognition. Yeah, especially from.
Well, you're
the
recognizing her right now.
Yes.
Yes.
I would like
Yes.
to put
Fuck
that.
yes.
This one's
Fuck
for you.
yes. Yep. Also,
right, back
thank you
to-
to that family for the wine. That I'll be drinking later.